video is on the Ryobi P420 and 422 cordless grinders. P420 was a first model and arguably the best one. It's a pretty heavy duty unit, and unlike the DeWalt one, which I compared with it in another video, this is sold as a grinder. It's not just a cut-off tool made to use skinnier wheels. This is a straight-up grinder. Takes standard grinder head stuff, just like the DeWalt will. But one of the things is they actually guarantee and certify this for use with full-size grinder heads. One of the cool things with both the corded and cordless models is the wrench for changing these is included with the unit. And so that's kind of nice. Now, one of the things that I tend to do with my stuff is I like to use the wheels where the threads and everything's built like right into the, right into the thing. Now this one I'm using the pinch hit, but when you use those type of grinding wheels, they cost a little bit more, but they're easier and faster to change. If you use a Ryobi grinder, it's almost like you're not gaining anything by doing that. But when I use the ones that don't have the little tool included, it's like, okay, I can always find a wrench easier than I can find a specialized tool, right? But with the Ryobi, that tool's usually there if your handle is there and you're good to go. You want to make sure not to lose these, because these little things sometimes are kind of a little bit more proprietary to the tool. You've got a grip safety on this so that you can't just pull the trigger to make it run. You can't pull the grip safety. You have to pull both, okay, in order to get it to go. The other thing they did was, because the battery is kind of large on these, and the P108 full-size 4x capacity battery is actually the same size as the NiCads. This was originally made to work with, but of course those NiCads are just garbage batteries. They really wouldn't do anything. The Ryobi NiCads are probably the worst ones in the business, which is one of the reasons I went over to Lithium Ion full-fledged, where other people kind of hesitated on Lithium Ion, is because their Lithium Ion batteries are pretty good. But this rotates. Now this is just something I did so I can hang it, okay? That's just something I did so I can hang it. But the foot on this can rotate, so if you're trying to get into a tight area, you can kind of reposition that and work with that, because you can realize it's not a tiny tool. The tool head here, I noticed that very similar to the Milwaukee. Now there's rumors that some of the parts are made by the same company, but from what I can tell, stuff is not interchangeable. Now onto the P422, which is a newer model. It's got kind of that lime green and gray theme to go with their Lithium Ion product line. Now they had a composite molded handle here where it's kind of the rubber and the hard plastic, but they went a little more deluxe on the newer model where, they put the little stippling in here. They went with a little bit different trigger design. It works about the same way. As far as I can tell, with the mechanics, the castings, the gear head, the motor, all that stuff, that's all pretty much the same. The locking mechanism for the guard is slightly different, but from what I could tell, it really looks to me like they're interchangeable. The rotation is from left to right. Maybe I had put this in upside down, but it seemed like this had been set up for a different rotation. The thing is, I want to be able to get at this with a wrench, not trying to jam a wrench up in there to get that off. One thing about the newer model, though, is the foot. It's a little bit shorter, a little more compact, because basically, not much happens between a battery and a motor head except for a handle. So the newer model doesn't pivot, but they made it shorter, okay? They made it shorter. They put the little ribs on the side of the tool so you can get a little better grip on it to get it out. Of course, the two tools appear to be interchangeable. And the handles are a standardized thing where you can put it in different positions on the thing. Now, a lot of times somebody's going to operate with this with the handle off, but it's powerful enough, you got to hang on to it. And one of the things that a lot of guys do with their body grinders is they remove the blade guard, and then they start, like on this Milwaukee, I'll use this with a brush that's a downward pointing brush, but the way this handle is and the way this is all made, you know, you can start choking up on that with your grip and then your fingers into that wheel, okay? The way these are made, they purposefully put the grip further back here, okay? They purposely position a big grip back there, so if you're one of those guys who removes the guard from these, you are, you know, you're in less danger, because if your hand is not on this, they made it where, see, you cannot even operate that tool if you're holding it where your fingers would be in the danger zone. And that's one of the reasons they made it so long, is if you're holding that tool where your finger's in the danger zone, it will not operate. Not with this grip safety. On this Milwaukee, you could kind of fudge factor that. See, you could have your finger up in that danger zone by kicking this with your pinky. Some people like that, some don't, okay? Personal preference on that sort of a thing. But with the Ryobi P422, it's the newest model available in the United States from Home Depot, from Australian and UK suppliers, and of course on Amazon. But usually on Amazon and eBay, they're actually at higher prices than at Home Depot. So in the United States, it's a Home Depot item. And of course, there's a couple of home improvement chain stores in Europe and Australia where these are available there. Is it an improvement over the older model? I don't know. You could say it is, but they're sold at exactly the same price. And it's a good addition to the lineup if you use the Ryobi tool system. My experience, because I really needed to clean rust off, and I've been restoring this old Sears Craftsman bench vise, is I kind of want to keep one that's got the grinding wheel, one with a wire brush. So I went and I bought a second one, and of course it's the newer style. And then for other types of work, you may want the cup brush, you know, the downward pointing cup brush on one. And if you're going to use a cup brush, you're probably going to use it without the blade guard on there. But generally speaking, for your grinding and metal cleaning tasks, you're going to own two of these. You're going to have one that you generally keep with a grinding blade on there, and one with a brush. Other possible attachments would be a diamond blade for trimming or cutting stone, or a cutoff blade which is thinner and it has a little reinforcement disc. Interestingly enough, the DeWalt ones come as a cutoff blade or cutoff tool, but remember, those types wear down very quickly. I haven't had the world's best of luck with them. If I'm going to cut metal, I really don't want to grind it apart. I want to use saws, like the DeWalt bandsaw or a Sawzall. If Ryobi ever came out with a handheld bandsaw, I would probably buy one.